Welcome back, Tad McClelland here. Yeah, this video I'm going to go through ideas on pouches. I'm not even going to do any sewing or stitching. Just going to kind of go through what it takes to put together a pouch and the kind of measurements that you're going to need to look for and do. Um, yeah, the hardest part about doing pouches or bags or anything of that nature is getting the measurements correct. And it takes some skill and some learning and some oopses, which oopses are fine. Um, some of my favorite projects are the ones that I redid 4 times, and in fact, I think that there are pictures on my site of in the mosaics or whatever you want to call it of a black bag that I did. In fact, I'll put some pictures up here. Um, I think I made 3 of them before. The third one was the correct one. I just kept making them too small. Hit, yeah, there was a specific size that I wanted and that the customer wanted really because it was for somebody, and I just could not get it right. And it looked beautiful and it was a really nice. All 3 bags were beautiful bags, but it just wouldn't fit what she wanted in it. And anyway, so it took me just till the 3rd time to get it right. So it's just something that you'll learn about and you'll remember. And when you try new things or do different designs or whatever, don't be afraid to mess up, because all it is just a little bit more time. And yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but it's it's still something that you're going to learn from, and it's going to stick with you through the next one, hopefully. I mean, if you're me, you can't remember anything anyway. So, but anyway, last video we went through how to make a belt for Tyler. Specifically, Mark, this one is for you. For I guess you're wanting to make a pouch for your what are they? The iPods, something like that. I don't know what they're called because I don't use any. I'm not. I don't make enough money. So, no, it's not true. Um, I just stay away from Apple stuff. Uh, Everybody else in my family has it but me. So I might do a little bit of cutting out of stuff, but essentially a pouch. I mean, you can start out with something as simple as our first project here, this little wallet, where it's just one piece of leather that you fold over and you've made a pouch. Um, if you want a pouch, something like this with a lid, you make it a little bit longer, and you have the lid fold over the top with a snap or a latch you make out of thread, which is somewhat difficult because you're starting to make knots bigger by adding more and more thread. Yeah, there's also there's many different types of latches you can get, but anyway, you can also make something like this and add a strip like this on either side, and so instead of having these sewn together, they would be sewn to this, and essentially you would just need to make sure that the 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 outside of your pouch, this one piece, is long enough to go all the way from this around that side around to this side and back up. And if you were going to have a lid, it also needs to, it would go from, let's see here, let's see if I got a chunk of paper here. So you got your 2 pieces here. You got one flap essentially. Let me get a pencil. So let's say this is your side. So you need a piece that's going to be let's say this is the front right here, okay? Front of your pouch. If you're wanting to put a lid all the way over it, see, now you're going to have something that's as long as this side, all the way across, as long as this bottom, as long as the back, as long as the top, and then again on the front, far enough to overlap to have a snap or some other kind of latch on the front. So you're going to have all of that space right there. So the easiest thing that I have found is, well, and then you also have to get your width right, but we'll get to that in a second. The easiest thing I have found is on your side. So wherever the inside of your stitch mark is, you need to add another 1/8 of an inch of space. So it's going to look huge when you're cutting it out. But believe me, when you start stitching it together, all of this stuff starts bending and taking up space. And so it's going to be significantly smaller after you stitch it together. So because you're going to have this essentially sitting in like that, unless you do a butt stitch on an end piece like this, which you could do one of these stitches. Instead of having them folded like this, you could actually fold it like this and it'd wind up sitting out like that. That'd be way more difficult, but it would look good. So if you're, yeah. And then the outside, more times than not, what I wind up doing, especially if I have a lid like this, is I can always trim off extra lid. So if it's too long and winds up being down here or beyond, I can always cut some of that off. So I make sure that it's at least long enough to get around here, all the way around and halfway. And that way, if it's too long, I can cut some off. If it's too short, or if and then it winds up being too just right. If I make it too short and then I wind up short, then there's nothing to snap to. Yeah. So I don't measure to the holes for the thread, but just inside of that. And I know this is very confusing. It's hard for me to really convey. Anyway, everything outside of where that thread is going to be put through the holes is extra. It's just there to hold everything together to make the leather stronger. So if you put it together like this, and you have a thread in there and you open it up, all of that is extra. There's nothing you can use right there. And then this little pinched spot right here makes it difficult. So maybe not 1/8 of an inch, maybe just a 1/16. But for both sides, the total would be about 1/8 of an inch of extra space that you want. So just keep those things in mind when you're making something like that. I would start out with the sides, so you get your thickness, your depth correct, so you know how deep a pocket you want on going from front to back, and how tall you want. And then the width, same thing. You just need to figure out how wide you want it, and then the rest of it is just cutting out enough material to go all the way around, and possibly have a flap or something like that on the front if you want that. So I'll throw up another example of one of the other things that I've done. It was a Leatherman case that I made for a friend of mine years ago. His dad's worn out and he wanted a new one for him. So essentially I sacrificed my own Leatherman my own Leatherman case, cut it apart, so I knew exactly how to make another one just like it, and so I made another one just like it. With the intentions of making my own again, never got around to it. Anyway, so yeah, so many different things that you can do with this. Yeah, pouches are, yeah, like I said, they're somewhat difficult. Um, I guess we'll just do a little example here. So I'm going to take this since I've already been messing with it. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to use it as an example. So we're going to cut it a little bit shorter since you're doing. It seems like you're doing a little iPod there, or whatever you call those things. My mind is going nuts right now. What am I looking for? Oh, yes, something to mark with. Actually, we'll just go here. So I'm not going to do the full length. I'm going to kind of guess as to what, it's just headphones. So I'm just going to guess about how big that is. And I think we're going to look up something about like that. So let's see. We'll just go 2 inches. It looks about right. So this is 4 inches thick. We'll go to 2 inches right there. So that's what's left there. We'll cut that off right there. Okay. So, and then I'm going to add a stitch line on the bottom here. We'll go ahead and poke those holes real quick. So I need to go clear around, all the way around and back to here. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches. And I think I'm going to make it 2 inches wide on the inside. This is probably not quite deep enough. So probably going to want like 1.25 inches for whatever case you're doing. But maybe not. That might be good enough. So what did I say? 7 inches by 2 inches. I'll go 2. Actually, I can just do it like this. Turn it upside down. I can line this corner up with 2.5. Boom. And that side up with 7. After you get everything set up and your holes punched around the outside edges, you need to figure out where your snap's going to be, or whatever your latch is. Don't do it on the lid, but do it on the front. So I'll show you what I mean. So you're going to set it up like this. I'm going to binder clip this thing. It really makes it easy to show, to hold things together and to show what it's going to look like before I stitch it. Alright, so I'm kind of trying to line those up where my stitches would be, so you can see how small it gets due to where your stitches are. Okay, here we go. Look, a pouch. No stitches needed. So really, you could make it just like that and leave the holes in there if you wanted to. You wouldn't have to worry about doing stitches all the way around the bottom, because that is kind of a pain. If you do it that way, I suggest that you do the one side, the front first, essentially this side. Do the front first, get it stitched on both sides, and then fold this back and do exactly what I did here, maybe with a binder clip. And use your awl, have the holes already done in the sides. Use your awl to push the hole through the back of this one. All the way, at least a couple, the first couple, so you can sew those together and then keep going. Or just mark them, which is going to be hard with that side. Okay, so there you get that. So now what I was talking about as far as getting the front lined up on, with the snap. It's very hard to do until after it's been sewn. So usually I go ahead and put my snap, whatever receiving snap or whatever is the latch is, on the front here. And then when I'm done sewing it together, I flip this over because I don't have to try to put anything inside of this to get my rivet or snap set. Usually have to have some kind of setter to get that done. Anyway, and then you can line it up, put your hole in, and put your new snap in that side. But there you go. That's quick and dirty. Little pouch for something small. Yeah, and this would be a great one to use some of these other stitches on. Some of the stitches that I used the belt as an example. Yeah, it'd be really pretty on something like this. But yeah, the belt will take a long time, and so will this. And I'll bet that done correctly, a pouch like this would take just about as much time as the belt. Maybe not quite as much, because there's less measuring and thinking to do with the belt as there is with the pouch. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up on this one. And if there's any questions that you guys have, don't hesitate to post a comment. I check them, maybe not daily, but close to daily. I do have a notification up for it. If I wind up getting comments, and I do get notified. So yeah, post a comment if you got any questions. And tell you what, invest in binder clips. They're great. Like the quick stitch. Yeah, that's it. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.